It's the Daily Doug.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. My friends Megan and I are off for a few weeks, and I am sharing some of my favorite reactions that we have filmed and had exclusively available over on our Patreon. And in May, we listened to some of our favorite jazz and jazz fusion instrumentals. And of course, we had to include some music from Frank Zappa. So today, we're making it a Zappa Wednesday, and I am pleased to share my reaction to Eat That Question from Frank Zappa. I'm going to keep it rolling because I got some Frank Zappa coming up next. If it's actually kind of interesting, I'm going in order of how the votes went. That was question and answer. This next one is Frank saying, "Eat that question." So I guess Frank has an answer for us. This one comes from Jeff, and he says, "I just love the keyboard intro into this piece, and then the whole thing just goes in all sorts of directions." He says Zappa at its finest. So I guess Zappa's gonna Zappa here. This is from the Grand Wazoo, another album that I know that I've heard a few songs from this album, but I still think it would be a great one to go ahead and listen to all the way through at some point. We need to do that, right? So this was his 11th album with the Mothers, and it was released in late 1972. It is Eat That Question, and it goes like this. Here we go. Is he playing in octaves, or is that just an octaver? A spicy E minor. Fa, do, E minor. He's setting up lots of different little motives that the band can then take and start spinning off. See, I was thinking they were going to start off really quick, but that's almost half time. So the first phrase puts out a question, and then he has an answering phrase. Great two-phrase pattern there. Yeah, I've got my keyboard out, but I'm like, who am I to play over these guys? You know, I'm mainly just trying to check my ear. And maybe if there's an open jam enough, I can add a little bit. Is that George Duke? Was he playing with him then? I forgot to check all of the musician list. Beating the hell out of those drums too. Yeah. it's a 1 and 4, E minor and A minor. But Frank loves to use those chords with seconds in them instead of thirds. So it's a lot of, if you just use kind of your pentatonic voicings instead of filling out the triads. That's the voicings, especially in what the bass is doing and what he's doing in his solo. Take it. I'm sorry, I'm talking over Frank. Here we see the question being eaten. Indigestion. And they pretty much stayed in E minor the whole darn time. So far. Ensemble melody. So formally the last thing we hear. So a rhythmic alteration of that same 2-measure phrase we heard before, and kind of like an E quartal. That's why it sounds like a whistle. It's like it's stacked in fourths. Right? Fourths and seconds. Maybe. Right? If that was like an E. Maybe. Yeah. It's works, but E quartal would have been kind of sounds whistle like, doesn't it? Especially if you start overlaying some of those things. You don't just have to write with chords and thirds. You can write with chords and fourths, chords and fifths. Those work really well. Chords and sixths are funky. Chords and sevenths are basically 13th chords, if you think about it. Now I'm getting off on a tangent. And yeah, if I do 1, 7, 13, fill in the third. 13th chord, right? But it's a chord stacked in sevenths, basically. Anyway, sorry to get off going. But this music, it just evokes so much cool shit, y'all. So there you go, my friends. I am happy to share that really fun ride with Frank and the Mothers with all of you as I'm looking at the track list to the Grand Wazoo. Side 1 has 4 Calvin and his next 2 hitchhikers and the title track, the Grand Wazoo. Side 2 has Cletus, Auritus, Auritus, Eat That Question, which we have just heard, and Blessed Relief. Now, all that I've heard previously from this album is Blessed Relief, so I still have half the album that I've never heard, and these two that I've only heard just once, maybe twice. So I think before too long, we're going to try to get to some more Frank Zappa, and I'd like to go back to doing some music from him that features a side of his music at a time in some of these classic albums, and just get more flair, awareness of what Frank was all doing back then, because he continues to intrigue, amaze, and entertain, and that's all we really ask for in artists, don't we? So, thank you all for listening today and for being with us. We will see you next time on another edition of the Daily Doug.